Roe is dead, and I am standing in front of the Supreme Court with my good friend Jonathan Van Maren from the Canadian Center for Bioethical Reform. Jonathan, and you just reminded me, we were here in 2013 at Obama's inauguration. He's coming by. We're holding up our signs, and frankly, I never thought we'd see this day. I've been at this 25 years full time now. The 25 years in the summer of 1997 is when I started full time, and I thought it would end in 5 years, and then 5 became 10, and 10 became 15, and then 20 or whatever, and then it was, was this ever going to happen? And it happens. So give us your reactions to what has taken place.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And so we were here Saturday night. We came here while the corpse of Roe was still fresh to watch all the protesters kind of come in and yelling. And my email's filling up with like, abortion's canceled in Alabama, abortion's canceled in Texas. The Texas AG says, praise the Lord, abortion's illegal in Texas. And it feels like morning in America. It feels like a new country. It feels like all the things that we talked about at strategy meetings and hoped and prayed for has actually taken place, and I think it's going to take weeks before it fully settles in, eh?
I know. I had that very phrase on my mind this morning. Ronald Reagan, I don't remember, it was the election in 1980, I think. Might have been 84 when he said it's morning in America. And it came to my mind this morning. I thought, yes, it is. In fact, this is bigger than Ronald Reagan, of course, being reelected president, but this is huge, man. I mean, you think about the implications of this nationwide. Just to be clear, of course, abortion is not illegal. People, you need to understand, this just gives the states, which they already had the authority, but now the states are free to do what they wish. That is to ban abortion, regulate abortion. Our ultimate goal, obviously, is a human life amendment, the U.S. Constitution. We tried it in the 1980s. We didn't get it done. But now we have that opening. We have that possibility of evil starting on that pathway of actually outlawing abortion across the United States of America.
Well, taking this from a national level for a minute and looking globally, this isn't just an American victory because America is the world's greatest superpower and the most prominent Western democracy. And for the first time in the history of the sexual revolution, something that has been done has been undone. The psychological blow this does to those who have been running society for a half century is unprecedented. It's why the rage is born out of helplessness. They thought the arc of the moral universe was long and it bent towards the world that they were creating around us. And then for the first time since abortion regimes began cropping up across the Western world, you've got a 6-3 decision from the world's greatest superpower saying abortion is not a constitutional right. In those words, you've got abortion activists in Africa saying this is going to hurt us. In Africa, you've got pro-life leaders and abortion leaders in Latin America and South America saying all of our gains are threatened by this overturn. You've got these people like Boris Johnson of the UK, right, the Prime Minister, who says this is a big step back. It's a big step back specifically for men like him. He got his mistress an abortion earlier in his career. So it's a big step back for garbage men like him who want to ensure that they can use women however they want. So the global implications of this are huge because America leads the way. The sexual revolution began here, and it may well end here.
That's right. That's so true. It's symbolic in the sense that Americans wake up now thinking Roe is no longer the law of the land. Maybe there's something wrong with abortion. States are passing laws to ban it, making it illegal. Oh, maybe this isn't moral. Maybe this isn't right. It's not a constitutional right. It will just the idea of Roe being overturned will save lives because the message is being sent to people. Take that pause now. It's like, oh, maybe abortion is not a good thing. Maybe it shouldn't be legal, and maybe I shouldn't have an abortion. So we don't even know the implications of that on public opinion over the next weeks, months, and even years. We can only hope that it's going to lead to a real decrease in support of abortion. Almost has to. If you look at when the gay marriage decision came down here in 2015, Americans were split. But once that came through the U.S. Supreme Court, it's like, oh, if it's legal, it's moral.
And I want to make that point because this has a lot to do with what you've been doing and the other pro-life leaders, some of whom are here today, have been doing for all these years, is that when Obergefell came down, it's true, the majority of Americans opposed same-sex marriage. California had voted by popular vote to keep same-sex marriage out, and then suddenly we have a flip, and 60% of Americans are like, fine, it's okay. But with abortion, though, because of the work of the pro-life movement over the past decades, year after year, in 1991, when Gallup started polling on this issue, every year more Americans declared themselves pro-life. Like, this victory was made literally possible in so many ways by the work Create Equal does, by the work CBR does, by the work our friends at Survivors do, like all of these grassroots organizations, because unlike all these other things, like same-sex marriage, abortion was legalized. And instead of the majority of Americans saying, okay, law's a moral teacher, I guess it's okay. Instead, because of the tens of thousands who took to the streets, abortion transformed the politics of the American Republic. Transformed the politics, right? Almost everything that happened in the last 30 years in American politics all boils down to the decision that got overturned on Friday.
That's exactly right. I was standing in the steps of our state house where in 2011 we introduced the first heartbeat bill, and I stood there with Janet Porter, and we were saying this is aimed directly at the heart of Roe versus Wade. And at the time, we had no idea what the implications of that were. But over the 10 years, we've seen this hopper being filled with pro-life legislation restricting and banning abortion. The Supreme Court could no longer ignore the avalanche of pro-life legislation. They said they had to do something. They were forced to do it. And now, thankfully, it's no longer an excuse, which pro-lifers have used it as an excuse. They have. They said, oh, we need to bend the knee to Roe. We need to fit within the regime of Roe v. Wade if we're going to pass laws. No longer is that a barrier. It's out of the way.
And every law that kind of came through another hairline crack in Roe v. Wade, slowly but surely, until we started to hear this great cracking roar that culminated this weekend. It's still surreal, man. Like, I'm so glad to be out here with all of you guys today.
Well, we're getting to celebrate. I want to make something clear, and I know he hasn't gotten a whole lot of credit for this, and there are others, but Donald John Trump. I mean, if he were here today, I'd give him a big bear hug, man. I mean, because, and frankly, the odds of 3 justices that he put on the court were going to overturn Roe. If you look at other presidents, other presidents, good pro-life presidents have put up justices. We thought they were good pro-life justices, and then they turned, someone went the other way. These 3 did not. They stayed home, man. It was amazing. And we also have to thank Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm sorry, but we just have to. I'm sorry.
Ruth sent us.
Ruth sent us. The timing of her passing in the final year of Donald Trump's presidency, and then putting Amy Coney Barrett on the court was really the tipping point.
Sometimes the inner machinations of Providence become very obvious. And that was the case there. We had a conversation. Actually, I was here for Trump's inauguration. You were here too, were you not?
Yeah, so was, of course.
The Women's March.
Of course. Yeah. All right.
Not as supporters,
no.
Of course. But that is actually another thing. Is I remember we talked about this when Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch and stuff were confirmed. I just want to thank all the abortion protesters for what they did to Brett Kavanaugh, because I think he went from a squish to a guaranteed vote afterwards. We said that afterwards, right? Like they basically made his life hell. They called him a gang rapist. They went after him, and if he wasn't an anti-Roe vote before that, I think that might have changed his mind.
And the leak too. I mean, it backfired. If that was meant to give these guys pause on their convictions to overturn Roe, it backfired big time. If nothing else, it galvanized them to say we're not going to cave to pressure. And I appreciate that from our justices here that said, and listen, we're going to do the right thing irrespective of what happens in the streets or the public opinion and all that. So, it's a monumental day. Again, we're in front of the U.S. Supreme Court here live on Monday, June 27. We're here with our team this week. We planned it in the event that this would take place. We missed it by a day. But we're going to be out on the street all week. We're going to be at the White House. We're going to be, in the mall. We're going to be all over the city, reaching people, because our work has not ended. In fact, it's just begun. This is the end of the beginning, as Winston Churchill famously said.
Mm-hmm. No, that's exactly right. All the things that were impeding us from getting what we wanted have now been removed out of the way. And the only other comment I have about the Supreme Court, any comments you have on this, Mark, would be interesting, is Chief Justice John Roberts. We talked about this on Saturday night. The thing that is so strange to me is that of all the justices, of all their records, he was the only one that seemed like a shoo-in from his resume before his appointment, right? Yep. He filed the brief on behalf of the H.W. Bush administration asking for the overturn of Roe. Yep. He defended Operation Rescuers, who were blockading abortion clinics. His wife worked for Feminists for Life, and as a pro bono legal counsel for years, even after she was no longer the vice executive director. And he didn't go all the way. He didn't go all the way. He wanted to uphold Dobbs, but he didn't want to all the way overturn Roe.
What I appreciate now, though, he's no longer the swing vote. I mean, we have 5 solid conservatives now on the court, so it doesn't depend on Justice Roberts. As much as he wants to keep the institution of the Supreme Court together and the integrity of the court, which I respect very much, That doesn't mean that you have to be a squish, and kind of figure out some political way of meeting everybody halfway, which is what he attempted to do here in Roe v. Wade or in Dobbs v. Jackson, and was stopped from doing that. Obviously. So again, we're coming from the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm with Jonathan Van Maren, and we are here marking the historic day of the overturning of Roe versus Wade. We'll be right back.